Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. I'm your host, Matthew J. Reddick, and I'm committed to giving you the truth you need to financially succeed. Today's program is on safeguarding your nest egg while keeping ahead of inflation, and if banks are your best option. But let's first take a look at today's news and see how it may impact your financial future. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau launched its website on February 3rd, even though the agency does not officially begin operations until July of this year. The agency, formed by President Obama in 2009 as part of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, will oversee consumer financial products and services related to fair lending, large bank supervision, non-bank supervision, and enforcement. Interest rates offered by banks have become a story of glaring contradictions and uncertainties, reports the LA Times. Interest rates on mortgages have continued to edge up since the record low of 4.2% last November, while rates paid on CDs have continued a downward spiral. The national average for a one-year bank CD is currently at a record low of 0.48%. Yes, that's just under a half of 1%. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, was formed by the Obama administration to, quote, crack down on the abusive practices of unscrupulous mortgage lenders, reinforce the new credit card law we passed for unfair rate hikes, and ensure that consumers aren't unwittingly caught by the overdraft fees when they sign up for a checking account. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will be a watchdog for the American consumer, charged with enforcing the toughest financial protection laws in history, end quote. The CFPB is an independent bureau within the Federal Reserve System, whose mission is to help empower consumers with information. As ruled by the Dodd-Frank Act, the CFPB will work to promote fairness and transparency for mortgages, credit cards, and other consumer financial products and services. The Bureau will represent the people by enforcing federal consumer protection laws, reviewing business practices to ensure that financial services providers are following the laws, monitoring the marketplace to be sure the markets are working as transparently as possible for consumers, and establishing a hotline and website for complaints and questions about financial products and services. They are currently accepting any consumer complaints on their new website as of now. A CD, or Certificate of Deposit, is a financial product normally offered through banks and provides a fixed interest rate for a specific time period, typically 3 or 6 months or 1, 3, or 5 years, and sometimes even longer. A CD must be held until maturity, at which time the money may be withdrawn along with the accrued interest penalty-free. Withdrawals made before maturity are usually subject to a substantial penalty, typically in the form of forfeiting some of the interest you would have earned during the established time period. Once a CD matures, an account holder has a window of opportunity to either withdraw all of their money from the account or to roll it over into another CD for another specified period of time. Record low interest rates on bank CDs have brought financial hardship for many retired investors, as most count on the interest earned from CDs for income. Overall, interest rates on CDs have been low since the start of the recession. When the economy slowed down, the Federal Reserve lowered their interest rates to banks and other financial institutions to a record low of 0 to 0.25%, which is where they currently stand. Before the recession, it was common to find a CD at between 3 to 5% for a 1 to 3 year CD. Now in 2011, it's difficult to find a 1-year CD paying 1%. So why is there still trillions of dollars of consumers' money in banks today? One simple word, and that word is safety. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, backs bank deposits up to $250,000 per person per institution, however not per individual account, as many mistakenly believe. IRA accounts are also backed by the FDIC, but under a separate agreement. An investor that has both an IRA and a bank account would be able to protect up to $250,000 for each account if the FDIC ever moved in and shut down their bank. Although the FDIC is basically insolvent currently, a provision of the Frank-Dodd Act requires the FDIC to maintain $1.35 to back up every $100 on deposit at every bank by the year 2020. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, Matt, what does all of this really mean to me? Well, now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. The Consumer Federal Protection Agency considers itself the financial neighborhood cop and will supervise banks, credit unions, and financial companies, and above all, ensure that rates, fees, and penalties are clearly stated up front, risks are visible, and nothing is buried in fine print. While this extra layer of protection will definitely help, it's not foolproof, and it will likely take time to implement their initiatives and to work out any bugs that often come with any new government mandate and oversight. However, it's still the responsibility of the consumer to do their own homework, ask questions, read all financial information, and clearly understand what they're getting into before they sign anything. This, of course, shouldn't change, even with the introduction of this new agency. And while a centralized resource for information will assist, it's not a new concept. The government has been operating MyMoney.gov, which was created after the passing of the 2003 Financial Literacy and Education Improvement Act and was designed to be a centralized resource of information. CDs typically come with no risk to your principal, as long as you follow the FDIC maximum deposit rules. However, there is a price to pay for that safety. Even though interest rates at banks are rising for consumer loans, they continue to fall for bank depositors, which has not been the norm in past years. When interest rates rise, they typically rise in unison for borrowers as well as depositors. And when they all fall down together. However, that hasn't been the case recently. As the cost for a mortgage continues to rise, the real value of owning a CD is going down. The official rate of inflation from December of 2009 to December of 2010 was only 1.5%. However, you would be hard-pressed to find a CD paying the same amount today. And to add insult to injury, each year your bank is required by law to issue you a Form 1099, often called a year-end interest paid statement, which of course means you must pay taxes on your small interest earnings. Even if the interest is not needed or withdrawn from the account, which is often the case for retirees, taxes are still due. And once taxes are paid and inflation is factored in, the safety of a CD comes at a very high price of reducing your real buying power every year. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? While banks are safe and secure and the stock market is fraught with risk, having too much money in either camp can cause your nest egg to burn up. You could lose real dollars in the stock market if you have too much invested and another future bear market wipes away 30 to 50% of your account. You could also lose real buying power as the years go by if you have too much of your money in the safe harbor of a banking institution. Most consumers today are either pro-safety, as in banks, or pro-big returns, as in the stock market, which means that they either have the majority of their money at risk in the stock market or in a safe environment at their local bank. Believe me, being too heavily weighted in either way can really hurt you, especially in retirement. So what's the solution? The real solution is to diversify your money properly between safe money alternatives and riskier but potentially higher earnings vehicles. I won't get into all the different savings and investment options that are available in each arena, but the strategy you should use throughout your entire life is the Rule of 100. If you will use this investment rule throughout your life, you will be properly balanced with your nest egg, no matter what your age is today or in the future. So what's the investment rule of 100? I'm sure you've heard me mention it before, but here it is. You simply subtract your current age from 100. The number that's left is the number percentage-wise that you should have at risk in the stock market. Your age is the number percentage-wise of how much of your money should be in safe accounts that have no risk of your principal. That doesn't mean, however, only in banks. As an example, if you are 60 years old, 60% of your total savings and investment dollars should be in non-risky accounts. and the other 40% could be in stock market type accounts. If you will follow this very simple but sound investment philosophy, you will always be in the best position financially, no matter what the economic conditions may be. In this week's CBTV poll, we asked Americans an important question. Where do you keep the majority of your money today? The options were A, bonds, B, mutual funds, C, banks, and D, annuities. Well, 40% of you said that you keep the majority of your money in banks. Now, while banks are a good place to store some of your money, it may be a good idea for you to look into other options such as bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and annuities to increase your yield and guarantee an income stream for retirement. You may also want to do some research into smaller local banks or credit unions rather than big corporations to reduce the high fees that are charged by the larger financial institutions. Don't let any more of your hard-earned money end up in the pockets of bank executives. Do some research today. In our On the Street segment, we travel the country to ask Americans what they think about an important financial topic or issue. For this week's segment, we asked people if they thought banks were a safe place to put their money. Let's take a look at what America had to say. Would you say that banks are still a safe place to put our hard-earned dollars into?
Well, I don't believe we really have a choice. I mean, what are you going to do, put it in a mattress? So, yeah, they're still pretty safe.
It's either the banks or the stock market, right?
Yeah, and stock market isn't all that great either, so.
Yeah.
No, I would choose the banks, I guess.
I think everybody placed faith in bank, that there was a system from banks, bankers themselves, the government, and we trusted banks. And now myself, and I would be many others, are really realizing that there is no safe haven these days.
So would you say that the banks are still a safe place to put your hard-earned dollars nowadays, or maybe not so much?
Well, I'm looking for an alternative. I don't know what there is out there. You look once or twice, and the banks and all their packages and offers, and are you going to get your money back? There's doubt in my mind.
Tell me, are you concerned about the number of banks that have been closed down by the FDIC lately?
Yes, definitely.
And why are you concerned about it?
Well, I think it all goes back to our loaning processes, and we're giving loans to people that should not have ever gotten them. And people at the time, they thought, well, I'll take out the loan. I can always sell my house. Now the market has dropped, and now all of a sudden banks are sitting with a whole bunch of properties that they don't want. So
that they can't get rid of.
Exactly.
People sure don't seem to be very confident about banks today, especially with the record amount of bank closures over the past few years. Fortunately, there are a variety of other financial vehicles and products available that consumers can invest in rather than storing money under their mattress like the first gentleman suggested. This segment of CBTV is brought to you by American Equity Investment Life Insurance Company. And now for Matt's weekly tip, tool, or technique. As you've learned today, large national banks and financial institutions are not always the best and safest places to keep the majority of your money, especially when it comes to stashing it away for retirement. However, there are other financial vehicles available for investors that provide a potentially higher rate of return and are not subject to the high fees that many banks are charging today. Chief among these are fixed indexed annuities, which is something you may want to consider looking into when planning for retirement. And here are the 4 advantages that fixed indexed annuities provide when compared to banks and most other investment vehicles. Advantage number 1, safety and guarantee of principal. With a fixed indexed annuity, your money is guaranteed to never go down due to market downturns. So unlike investments in stocks, mutual funds, and other vehicles tied to the stock market, your account value will not go down in the event that the market takes a nosedive. Advantage number 2, annual reset of any gains. Fixed index annuities are the only savings account in America that actually locks in your gains if the market goes up from one year to the next, and then resets or starts over again for the next year. Now, of course, there are always limits to the gain you will receive when the market increases, but you will never lose any of those gains or your original deposit if the market decreases in the future. Advantage number 3 is tax deferral. All interest earnings in an annuity accumulate on a tax-deferred basis until they are withdrawn. This leaves interest to accumulate on dollars that would otherwise be going to Uncle Sam in taxes every year. Albert Einstein said many times that the eighth wonder of the world was the miracle of compounding interest, and how true that statement is. Advantage number 4 is guaranteed income for life. Fixed indexed annuities provide one thing that very few financial products can, which are guaranteed income for life. With many of these types of annuities, you can create an income stream for yourself and your spouse, if you wish, that will be guaranteed to last throughout your retirement years, providing you with peace of mind that banks simply cannot offer. And for more information about the pros and cons of fixed indexed annuities, download our free report, The Truth About Annuities. Now is the time to realize that when it comes to safeguarding your nest egg for retirement and protecting it against inflation, banks are not usually the answer. With taxes due each year, combined with low interest rates, your retirement nest egg will begin to lose buying power. It's important to spread your money out among various financial vehicles that provide both safety and return. Do some research on your own to find the best ways to diversify your money to minimize risk, produce higher yields, and guarantee an income for life. The best strategy to achieve all of this is to find and work with a competent financial professional who can assist you with a total financial plan that includes insurance, investments, estate, and legacy planning. To assist you in your search for finding the best financial advisor possible to work with in your area, download our free report, 10 Questions to Ask Your Financial Advisor Before You Invest a Dime with Them. Mark your calendars now for the next installment of our Truth About series. This upcoming episode will air later this week and is on the truth about stocks. You will learn the pros and cons, both sides of the coin, on this important financial product so you'll know if it's the right investment for you. And be sure to friend our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to gain exclusive access to our library of viral videos and the lighter side of finance. For more information on how to become a checks and balances savvy consumer and to download any of our free reports, visit the download section of our website. And once again, be sure to get your copy of the 10 Questions to Ask Your Financial Advisor Before You Invest a Dime with Them, a free report that gives you the information and tools you need to select the best financial advisor you can to help build a financially secure future. And while you're on the site, remember, your voice counts. Be sure to take this week's poll and visit our Tell Us What You Think section to share your opinion. Make your voice heard. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Reddick from Checks and Balances TV. Be sure to join us next week when we'll discuss financial survival tips for a turbulent economy. Until then, spend less, save more, believe in yourself, and make it happen.